Today we've got with us here ESmartSolar. ESmart works in Penrith Blue Mountains, that part of Sydney, is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
So how did you get into being an electrician in the first place?
It's something I wanted to do out of school. Always found it interesting. Got an apprenticeship with a local company in Penrith.
Well, how was it being an apprentice? Did you get sent to get the square screwdriver and the checkered paint and all that? They took the Mickey out of you?
Nothing quite like that. But it probably wasn't a great deal of fun at some days, getting stuck with the crappiest jobs. But yeah, got through it.
All right. So how long is the apprenticeship in electrical?
4 years on the tools, yeah.
So you were 4 years learning the stuff. Do you have to go to TAFE?
Yeah, 3 years. 3 years of TAFE at Mount Druitt and 4 years. 4 years on the job, yep.
Okay, so then you walk out and go, I'm not an apprentice anymore, I'm an electrician. How good is that? What happened after that?
Worked on wages with another Blue Mountains company as an electrician. That was probably only two years. Got offered a job with quite a small solar company after that was just starting in the mountains. I was probably the third employee that they had as an electrician. And then they got very big very quickly, where maybe 5 years later, when I left, they had about 80 people employed. And I saw the writing on the wall there. So
what's happened to that company?
They're no longer around. They went bust.
So they went big too quickly, is it?
Big too quickly, and just timing. Poor timing, poor management for a company that started so small, that just got so big so quickly.
When did you install your first solar system?
It would have been around 2008.
So we got 15 years of solar in your veins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You did 4 years apprenticeship in Penrith. You then worked for 5 years for a company installing solar. Then what next?
I opened my own business. It was trading as eSmart Electrical for a few years before I fully committed to the solar brand, solar name. And trading as eSmartSolar for the last 8 years.
And why did you decide to run your own business? I mean, wouldn't it be just nice somebody else having all the headaches?
I suppose I just wanted to have a crack at it, see how good I was at running my own show. I don't know.
What about giving customers some satisfaction and actually be in charge of that? Was that a motivation?
Yeah, it was off the back of seeing how some solar sales companies were maybe not giving were certainly not giving the best customer experience. We'd like to give the customers the best possible experience from first point of contact at sales to install all the way through to installation. So and after sales. So.
In your area, in the Blue Mountains, I get a quality system. What's the payback period in years?
We generally see 5 to 6 years. It depends on the site a little bit and how much shade they might get from surrounding trees. But 5 to 6 years generally.
But let's say if it's 5 to 6 year payback, and I maybe make on a bigger system about $1,600 to $2,000 benefit, and the system lasts for 20 years, I still make 30 grand.
Yes.
So that's where can you get that kind of return?
Yeah, that's right.
So solar does make you money, does it?
Yes, it does make you money. There's no doubt about that.
The customers in the Blue Mountains, what type of customers you've got?
Yeah, so generally people sort of 30 and up, up to retirees. They are often environmentally focused and not purely financially. So it's a broad scope.
And do they worry really about the pricing, or they want the best possible outcome?
Varies with the person. I feel in the mountains they want the best possible outcome above pricing. And I feel that we work hard to give most people that. So yeah.
What about the Penrith area? What's the type of customers you've got there?
Yes, similar. I think Penrith is maybe a little bit more saturated with cheap and cheerful solar installations. So our customers are a bit different there.
Right. Let's talk about cheap and cheerful solar. Why wouldn't I want to buy a cheap system? I mean, I look on the roof, the solar all looks the same, panels, inverter. What's the diff?
So there's big differences between the quality of the panel, the quality of the inverter, and the quality of the installation, whether subcontractors are used or not, I think. So, yeah, you definitely get what you pay for in spending the extra money on a good quality system that is going to last the warranty period and be backed up by a company that is going to be around for the warranty period as well.
I mean, what can go wrong?
Installation-wise, there's lots of things that can go wrong. If you might be... you might have subcontractors rock up to your house and that's literally the first job that they've ever done because they've only just gotten their solar ticket. So you don't know that you've got any experience there and they could be making it up as they go along. The results with broken tiles or inappropriate seals or roof leaks, the list goes on with the quality of the installation. So, there's a fair bit to worry about not knowing who is actually installing it and what sort of experience they have if you're buying the system off a solar sales company and not buying the system off a solar installation company.
And what about the gear itself? Is there any difference there?
Yeah, so huge differences again in quality and price between good quality panels, good quality inverters, and stuff that's not so expensive. Inverters, for example, we can see failures well within the warranty period. That inverter company might not be around anymore. The sales company's not around anymore. And the homeowner's left holding the bag with the headaches of trying to get it fixed.
All right, so I bought a chip system. It stopped after 3 years. The company installed it is not around. Now I call you to help me.
Yep.
What's the story?
Yeah, so this is not an uncommon situation. We do what we best. We do our best to have a look at it. However, you could. The situation might be you need to spend $2,000 to get it fixed after already investing $4,000, and then you're still left with a half working system, or you pull the whole thing off and start again, and it costs you $7,000. As an installer,
you mean it cost you? You pull your $4,000 off, and it cost you $7,000 to get a good one.
Yes, that's right. As an installer and a business owner, the risks involved in trying to fix it is that we then take ownership of it as far as I'm concerned. So if you have a problem with some other bit that we didn't fix, you're calling us again and that's more money. So we are reluctant to touch it in the first place.
So you're saying you buy a cheap solar system, the company disappears. It's actually hard for those owners to get anybody really wanting to look after it.
Yes, that's right. Because there's no financial benefit to my business, it's too much work. Becomes too expensive for the homeowner. So
because basically you're inheriting somebody else's headache.
Right. That's right. Someone that's bought cheap, they've tried to get back in touch with the company. They're either totally gone or they just not returning phone calls, not returning emails, and.
I mean, if you don't make any profit, you can't really have after-sale service.
Yeah, makes it tough.
Now, you talked about subcontractor versus your own in-house staff. What are you using and why?
We only employ in-house staff, so I'm solar CEC accredited, so are the installation guys, our electrical apprentices, our labourers, they're all in-house, so none of the installs are getting done by subcontractors. So.
But why is that?
Well, I started in the solar game as part of my own business as a subcontractor, subcontracting to other companies, and I saw what sales guys were telling customers, homeowners, and then we would get there on the day and say, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith, this can't happen. This is not going to work. You're not going to see these savings." So I felt bad for the homeowner that they were told these things. And we sort of. So that's why I've opted for the model of you talk to the salesperson, which is often me, then that information gets filtered down to the installers who are then installing it with the experience that they have, as per standards, with care, because I'm the one that's going to be liable for anything that goes wrong, and it's not going to be blamed, that was such and such subcontracting, but we can't get onto them anymore. And it's just to make sure the job's done properly and to avoid any.
So you're telling me in solar, sometimes the sales guys, if they're just focused on sales and have no installation experience, they basically just make it up as they go, and then the installer has to fix it when they get there and make that reality. Is that what happens?
Oh, yeah, they can do. In my experience, they have done, because the salesperson's not necessarily got the interest of the customer and the business as a whole in the front of their mind, because they're just looking to make the sale and collect the commission and move on to the next one. So, I feel that the way that we're structured and the way that we do things is a bit different because, there's no sort of what I tell the customer, what I tell the homeowner is what's got to happen, because it's my responsibility to make sure it does. I don't need Mrs. Smith upset because I said that it was going to go down this way and then it doesn't. So,
And what are the things that when you were working in the trade and installing in your early days, what sample is where the sales guy sold something that could never happen and you sit there and go, how am I going to tell this to Mrs. Smith? You got a sample?
Yeah, sure. So I guess from a design point of view, it's easy enough to sit at a desk on a computer and click panels over a satellite image with no actual concept of how that design might work. And then, when we were subcontracting, we would get there on the day, we would rock up and say, well, this configuration can't happen. It's actually at the detriment of the system if we do this, and it's not compliant. So then Mrs. Smith needs to buy another 3 panels to make it happen, or have 5 less panels to make it work. So all of a sudden the expectations of performance and payback and return is totally different. And that conversation needs to be had on the day when the installers are there ready to go. Maybe if it happened 2 weeks ago on the phone, that the decision about purchasing the system would be totally different. So, it's a non-desirable way to run things in my mind.
So you're saying if the installer is the same person or has the same knowledge as the salesperson, with other words, the salesperson has electrical background, knows what's possible, understands switchboards, can tell you straight away you need an upgrade, not on the day where suddenly somebody's getting slogged for $1,000 extra. Those type of conflicts can be avoided if the salesperson has the knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty important, because if Mrs. Smith doesn't have the extra $1,000 for a switchboard upgrade, then what does she do? Sends the installers home, loses the deposit? I don't know. So, yeah.
So does that happen with your company, those kind of conflicts?
Look, it's not perfect, Marcus. But ultimately, no. We be as thorough as possible from the first contact with the customer. If I'm not directly doing the quote, I'll pass my eyes over it if it's even remotely complicated. And ultimately what we quote and what the customer accepts is what they pay. So if there's been a major stuff up and there does need to be $500 invested in the switchboard, I take ownership on that and we just do it. So there is no additional out of pockets once the customer accepts the quote. So
they're those biggie flashy sales companies, cheap prices, nice famous people in their ads and all that. Why would I not use those? Why use a local?
So I think it really helps with the after-sales service. So we're able to respond as quickly as possible to any issues you might have down the track with whether it's concerns about the monitoring or general questions or there is an issue with the product. We can get back there quite quickly because we're not having to re-engage the subcontractor or try and get someone from interstate if it's an interstate-based sales company. I just like to think that the after-sales support is going to be a lot better than one of those other companies.
How important is after-sales? I mean, it's solar, it's on the roof, it should just last for 20 years. What do I need after-sales for?
Well, things don't always go smoothly 100% of the time. So, it's just you don't want to make the investment. Something does go wrong with it, and then you can't get anyone back there to service it or fix it or even answer any questions that you might have, as minor as they might be. But also things are getting more complicated with things like batteries, car chargers, all that sort of stuff, and even down the lines of off-peak recharging, virtual power plants, that sort of stuff, understanding that and even after sales of of that, there can be small adjustments to be made with programming, etc., to make sure that you're getting the most out of all the products. So, dealing with larger companies with that sort of thing would be very difficult.
In the olden days, you got a phone call, somebody just wanted a solar system. Is that still what happens?
Not so much. Things are moving from solar only onto people having batteries added either initially or down the track, and then things like electric car chargers, smart switching, hot water, home automation. All of that's becoming more and more prevalent, with people moving away from gas and moving to fully electric households. So that being with the customer through that journey is quite interesting. It's quite fulfilling to be able to go back to someone's house that we did solar 5 years ago, gone back once or twice for second and third batteries, and then they plan to have an EV in the next 2 or 3 years. So being local and being able to support them through that whole process, it's quite fulfilling.
It's actually a journey of 10 years to do the energy transformation of the home nowadays. And for that reason, it's quite important. Who do you pick for the job?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, being local, being a bit smaller, we can offer that support. We know what you've installed previously and what components are compatible that are on the market now and what's best going to suit your needs. We can even touch into their monitoring portal, so we can pull data from that to say a battery of this size is going to suit you and that this is going to be the best solution for you, as opposed to XYZ that might not work, might not be so good because of your actual solar production and your actual needs. So we can see that hard data quite often to give the best advice to the customer, however long down the track, 4 or 5 years, whatever it may be.
Why don't I go for 5 different solar companies? One does the battery, one does the panels, one does the monitoring. I always pick the cheapest.
Yeah, okay. So from the initial contact, I think, and from the initial inquiry, we're doing our best to offer the best product for your solution. And then if we're in a position to revisit things on the battery upgrade 2 years down the track, as I said, we've got the data there to give you the best advice. And again, if there's a car charger in the future, we've got the history there. We know what your energy ecosystem's like and can offer you the best solutions.
So you're saying to me really that eSmart is a bit like your local doctor. You keep on going back for the various things. You're not going to 5 different medical centers because they don't have your history. You're the one guy. They go back for improvements in their home in regards to the energy footprint because you got their record, you got the relationship, and you got the word of mouth recommendation. Is that really what's happening?
Sure. I don't know how to answer that.
You say,
yes. Yeah, we're the energy doctors. Yeah.
Blue Mountains, Penrith area, quite a bit of greenery there. So solar doesn't really work well with shade.
Correct.
What do you do in your home territory with shade?
So we assess each site on a case-by-case basis. There's different inverter technologies, microinverters, power optimizers, above and beyond what a string inverter can offer. So, we assess each site based on its merits and say, this product is best for you. A string inverter will be fine because there's no shading, or a DC optimized system or a microinverter system all have their pros and cons. So, we assess each site and give the customer options and give them our best advice and opinion on what will work best in their situation.
Old argument, the Ali versus Frazier, the microinverters versus the optimizer. What side are you on?
There's pros and cons to each of them. We don't necessarily preference a single product or a single brand, but do our best to educate the customer on what the differences are between the two and how one or the other could benefit them more.
But both of them are decent solutions, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. There's they're both high quality products. Good warranties, well backed companies. So
now I have heard and seen sales presentations where certain people say this is the only solution that you should use. That's the best of all, and if you use anything else, it'll kill you.
We assess each site. We say this string inverter is going to offer the best value for money it's going to work at this level of efficiency. It's completely safe. We're installing it to the Australian standards, which are very, very strict. Or depending on the site, this other option is going to be better for these reasons. So, put the options forward to the customers and let them make the choice and inform them as best as we can about what the best choice is to make, in our opinion, so that they're being as educated as possible and not just being driven by this one sales option where that they start to think that this is the only choice, even though it's not necessarily the best.
In regards to the end customer getting the best outcome, by you proposing something that costs them more but doesn't actually give them any specific additional benefits, you're really taking them for a ride.
I think so, yes, because why would they pay an extra $2,000 on this product that will never see $2,000 in benefit? It's just a waste of their money. Where they could take that $2,000, invest it in more solar of a different technology, and they'll be far more in front than being pushed into this one product that they're not going to see the benefits from financially and environmentally. They're better off taking that money and buying more solar with it, not just being led and pushed into this one specific product.
Now, let's say I'm a sales guy for one of those two products, the Optimizer or the Microinverter. I come and see you and I go, listen, if you sell more of my product, I'm going to give you a free barbecue, 4 steak knives, and a pig on a spit. Will you push my product a little bit more?
No, because those small benefits are not going to outweigh what I think the customer should choose. So the small gains that these manufacturers seem to offer, I wouldn't risk my reputation on whatever benefits that they might have to offer.
You're missing out on my barbecue.
Pig on a spit's not that appealing.
All right. A battery nowadays, is it already worth it?
That would depend on your motivation. If your motivation is for financial gain, then I think the payback periods are still fairly long. If it's for other reasons such as energy security or environmental benefits, then that can be a bit different. With all that said, changes to time of use tariffs where you get billed a different rate for different times of the day, that's becoming a bigger and bigger part of owning a storage battery. And if you're engaging that sort of tariff, the battery can actually pay itself off quite quickly if you're taking advantage of those tariffs through different times of the day, even with the ability to recharge the battery at an off-peak rate and discharge it into the grid during peak times, even without any solar gain during certain times of the year, you can still be financially forward with owning a battery. So, yeah.
So what you're explaining is that I have a lower tariff at certain times of the day. That's when I ask for the electricity to go into my battery.
Correct.
And then I release it when the electricity price is high because I get paid a lot more money for the electricity. So the storing of that electricity actually has created the value.
Yes, because your home battery is helping support and stabilize the grid at certain times of the day.
And what about EV charging? If I can get the benefits of not paying for the petrol anymore due to the battery, doesn't the battery then make sense as well with EVs? What's your experience?
To some extent, the size of the home storage battery versus the size of the battery in the car, often the car is going to be dramatically maybe 10 times bigger than the home storage battery. So, yeah, we talk about with homeowners what their expectations are around what an electric car might do to their energy consumption, how much solar they've got, how much battery storage they've got, and what benefits a storage battery would do depending on how they use the car and when they are most likely to recharge it.
Right. So let's say I'm a person that's called you into my house. I bought a new house. It hasn't got solar. It hasn't got a battery, but I've got an EV and I got a nice roof. What do you recommend?
Get as much solar on your roof as you can, as much as you can afford, and as much as is sensible depending on the site. And then when are you more likely to charge the car? How much battery storage can you afford? Does it even make sense because you only ever charge it during the day off excess solar because you work night shift? All those little things would just guide our advice on the best way to maximise the solar and or battery combination with the EV.
So are you telling me that you're actually asking the customer questions?
We do our best.
But why? You should walk in and know what you want to sell. Isn't that how it works?
Not at ESmartSolar, no.
Some people, as soon as they got solar, they think, oh my God, I got free electricity, and their consumption doubles.
Yeah.
And then they ring you up and go, oh, I'm still getting a bill.
Yeah.
Has that happened?
It has happened previously, yes. So a monitoring platform of some sort is always crucial, and the customer's understanding of that is crucial, so that they are making the best decisions about where their power goes. They're not just turning the aircon on at 25 degrees in the middle of winter. They understand that this is actually costing money, and they can see the power flow. They understand how the app works. They understand how the charts work. So, yeah, they can make the best decisions to maximise their savings.
I have a little game that I sometimes play with people of a quality solar system versus a cheap solar system. And you give me a way to make a solar system cheaper that the customer will not know immediately. They'll know in years to come with a headache. And then I throw one back at you, and we'll see how many we can get, okay? Let me start. I've rocked up. I'm in a hurry. I'm a subby. I need to get 2 jobs done. So the first wall I see, right next to the switchboard, I'll whack the inverter on. I don't care that it's west or north. It looks good. Unfortunately, the thing's going to bake in the sun.
Yep.
You go.
So we're supposed to grind the tiles out underneath the panel so that the bracket doesn't leak. But that's pretty time consuming and fairly hard labour intensive wise. So we'll just screw it down, pull the tile back and take our chances with the gap, or throw some cheap silicon in there and see how we go.
Excellent. Now, I believe you're supposed to use stainless steel cable ties, but they're much more expensive than the normal cable ties, and the customer never gets on the roof. Just use the normal ones.
Yep.
Bit of a problem 4 years down the track. They all crack. They fall off. They're now washing the gutter. They block your gutter.
Yep.
But I've had a 5-year time to escape. What about the thickness and stuff on fracking? I mean, I think people have always an argument about this is a better panel, this is a better panel, this is better inverter, this is better inverter. But the racking, it's kind of the quiet cousin. Nobody talks much about it. Is there different price points in the racking, and how can you tell the diff?
Yeah, so we can just tell by looking at it that the gauge on the aluminium is not as big. Just the feel of it.
That's the thickness of the rail itself and things like that?
Yeah. Going back to some older jobs that we're pulling off that are, 6 to 10 years old, and it you can tell it's not stood the test of time.
It's all seized up and stuff. You have to all grind it off. Is that what the issue is?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you would argue that racking is actually undervalued, is it?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, do you get storms in the mountains and stuff like that? Have you ever seen a system come off?
Haven't seen a system come off yet, no.
All right. Okay. So you do solar, you do batteries. Anything else you provide?
Yeah, EV chargers are becoming more and more prevalent with customers moving to a complete electrical household, including the car. So, yeah, becoming more and more common.
What's an EV charger set you back? Level 2 or so?
Yeah, from between $1,500 to $2,000 installed.
Right. Depends on the position where it is and the cabling you need to run and all of those kind of things?
Yeah, single phase, 3-phase.
When it comes to system size, what's the situation?
In the early days, 10 odd years ago, the way the rebate was structured, 1 to 2 kilowatt system size was very common because you would get X amount back from the government. So that was really what was being pushed. More and more, we're seeing people absolutely maximising their system or maximising their roof space and filling their roof as much as possible because they want to take advantage of the current rebates that are on the planned decline, and they're taking advantage of the high quality equipment that's on the market at the moment. So people are just moving from the 2 kilowatts that were a 10-year-old system is to 6 to 13 up to 30 kilowatts residentially. So things are getting bigger and bigger.
What's on a normal house? How big is a system that you can fit on?
Yeah, we assess the roof and the customer's requirements. We're generally doing 6 kilowatts up to 13 to 15 kilowatts on average.
So is that what maximum would fit in a house that is the average house in the Blue Mountains? I mean, what do you get on I say I want the biggest system. I got an average house in the Blue Mountains. What can I get?
I would say an average would be 10 kilowatts.
Right.
Yep.
I have a belief that when the EV charging really takes off, that you potentially want to put panels also on a south roof, even so south the sun never shines, so to speak. But do you still get some output out of a southern roof?
You will at certain times of the year, yes. Mm. So during winter solstice, for example, a true south-facing roof will actually outperform a north-facing roof for that short period throughout the year. So as long as the customer is aware of the detriments to the southern-facing roof during winter and the bulk of the year, if they're still happy to make the investment on to put panels on the southern roof, then it can still make sense depending on how much roof they've got available.
In general, roof space, when they run out, you got no more. What are your options?
If we've utilised the north, east and west face of the roof, we would consider using the southern roof for solar installation, even though the overall yearly output can be quite low. There's still benefits in maximising the roof overall, because a solar panel is in the sun still going to have some sort of output, and particularly in summer where the sun's higher in the sky, the southern roof can actually outperform the northern roof during certain times of the year. So, are you already looking and getting asked questions about smart homes, and what do you know? What do you indicate? Where are we going to go? With so solar can play an important part of all this, with technologies that can do smart switching, such as turning on a hot water system with a timer or a switch of some sort, turning on a pool filter or a pool heater at certain times, or most other things you can think of where there's some sort of control that's triggered by the solar power at certain levels of output. So you're saying a smart home and solar is a good combo? Yeah, absolutely. You must be walking around sometimes and you must see a lot of crap solar on the roof. How does it make you feel? Oh, disappointed that at least I didn't get the chance to quote the customer, let alone install it. Yeah, we've been in the industry for a long time, and for me to see that in my local area, where I know that we didn't even offer that customer a quote or an opportunity to present ourselves and what we offer, and explain the pros and cons of what, to explain the pros of what we do, it's pretty disappointing. I mean, we all walked into solar 20 years with great lofty ambitions to save the world and make it a greener place. But there's a lot of crap solar out there that goes in the tip fairly quickly. I mean, we're not right now the saviours, are we? Environmentally, not, no. Are there opportunities? How do we fix it? Well, install good quality solar that's going to last 20 plus years and, see some good environmental and financial benefits for the homeowner. The equipment, even if it's good quality equipment, after 20, 25 years, one day it will have to be replaced. What's your position in regards to recycling? So by that time, I'd like to see that there would be recycling facilities for the aluminium, the glass, and any other valuable components that are in the panel that can be broken down and recycled for other purposes. That may not be available right now, but in the short years to come, I think that'll be a big part of the industry and very important. Do you get customers sometimes who are rather concerned, don't really know about solar very much, and you have to hold their hand and guide them through, and you end up in their living room explaining things? Mr. Smith thinking of solar. Yeah. I'm Mr. Smith. What are the questions? Okay. Mr. Smith, do you understand how the solar system works? Do you understand how it can benefit you throughout the day without any battery storage? No, but my neighbour got one, so I don't want him to have it, and I want a bigger one than him. Okay. How big's his system? 8 kilowatts. Okay. You probably don't need 8 kilowatts if your bill's only $500. So you don't need to be bigger than him unless you think that there's going to be some need for battery storage or an EV in
Yeah,
the
my wife and me, we're both going to get an EV.
Okay. So that if that hasn't happened yet and your bills are $500, then you probably do need a larger system. I've had a quick look. I think we can fit about 13 kilowatts on your roof. So that would be the recommendation if the EV.
That's an unlucky number. I don't want 13.
How about 13.3?
That sounds better, yeah. Okay.
So that would be the advice there. If you're in a position where you can recharge the car or cars during the day, then we'd also recommend a car charger that would allow you to recharge only off excess solar as an option. So you could plug it in, the solar will run the house first, and then if and when there's excess solar of 1 kilowatt, for example, then that amount of energy would go into the car at that rate. As the excess solar increases, the charge rate will increase, and that way you're guaranteed to only recharge the car off excess solar. And there's settings where you can boost it off the grid if need be, if you need to use the car for other things. So,
thank you very much, Dean, for arriving here today. I already have a quote from a cricketer solar company, and it's for 6.6 kilowatt for $3,800. You've indicated to me it'll cost you $6,000 to $7,000 to give me a system. Why should I pay all that money more?
First of all, the initial cost of the products. So between the cheap system and the products that we're offering, there could be 2 or 3 times our cost in the actual purchase price of those components, the big ticket items such as the inverter and the panels. Then the cost of the installation. So this company is more likely to use subcontractors that are trying to get things done quickly because they're not getting paid very much, so that they can move on to the next job and try and get 2 or 3 jobs installed in a day, as opposed to our in-house team on wages that are taking the time to do it properly, to make sure that there are no corners being cut, and small things such as the trying to conceal the conduits in walls where we can, little touches like that that take a bit more time. All that adds up to the difference that you see between the cheap system and what we're offering. So,
Right. I'm getting tier 1 panels on my cheap quote. That sounds pretty impressive. What does tier 1 mean?
Tier 1's just a marketing term that someone's come up with. It doesn't have any bearing on the actual quality of the panel. Inverters.
It's just a box on the wall. Is there a difference in quality?
Huge differences in quality between the components inside, origin of manufacture, local support from the company. If something was to go wrong with the inverter, the cheap inverter, and you had to try and chase the manufacturer that may not have offices in Australia, as opposed to if something goes wrong with the inverter that we're offering, they've got offices in Melbourne and support in Sydney with offices there too. So, yeah.
A difference in the price point?
It could range from 4 to 5 times the difference between the cheap inverter and the expensive inverter.
Now, customers sometimes ring you back afterwards, after you install the system. Do they do?
They do, yeah.
What's the type of questions they have?
So it can be along the lines of why is this happening with our monitoring? Because we've taken them through the monitoring platform, and they're trying to understand what this big spike in consumption might be that they weren't aware of. Is that something that we've done because they don't fully understand it? But we might find that it's actually some a load that they've got turned on that's using a lot of power. Their air conditioner uses a lot more, and just that bit of backup support to help them understand where their energy use is going that they might not have fully been aware of before the monitoring was in. Little things like that.
What's a satisfying day for you?
It's always good to finish the job, get home, and the customer has been in touch with the office, and before I've even gotten home, they've called the office. Office has sent me an email saying Mrs. Smith was really happy with all the work today. Install was excellent. All the staff were really good. and they can't sing our praises highly enough. It's always nice to get home and see that email, and know that we've done a good job and the customer's happy. To the point where the customer's reached out to us. It's not like we've tried to prompt that from them, that they've just been proactive and contacted the office to sing our praises. So, yeah, that's always nice.
There's some specific intricacies about the mountains, the Penrith area, that you as a local company understand well.
Well, the Blue Mountains and Penrith area fall under Endeavour Energy's network. I've done my entire electrical apprenticeship as an electrician, first starting in Penrith. So, yeah, things like what the rules and regs are around the switchboard, what this type of house construction might be like inside the walls, where, I know we're going to be able to get down through the cavity there, but we're not going to be able to do it over there. Just little things like that, 20 odd years experience of being an electrician, specific to this area, that I would have, that I can pass on to our staff, that you wouldn't, if I was to work somewhere else in the country, I wouldn't have that experience. So, yeah.
With EV vehicles coming more and more on, you're saying that the solar system is getting bigger and bigger, and the customer is actually then going to enjoy the free driving. So the $2,000 we pay per year on petrol is actually coming back into the end customer's pocket. So they shouldn't bid an eyelid to buy a battery in a solar system when they have $1,600 saving from the system in the electricity bills and maybe $2,000 savings on the petrol. There's $3,600 coming back to them. They shouldn't bid an eyelid to spend $15,000, $16,000, $18,000, because in 5 years they got the money back. Okay, and what's it like with an EV driving it? Do you kind of now suddenly drive faster because you got better acceleration? Are you getting more points in the in your license? So what's it like to drive an EV?
That definitely happened for the first 6 months, but you get used to it. You just bit of it takes a little bit of time to get used to the fact that the car recharges as you take your foot off the accelerator, so it slows down quite aggressively for recharge. There's a bit of a knack to that, but it's good. I find it hard to go back to a petrol car.
Why? I mean, aren't they both kind of nearly the same, or is there a difference in the maintenance? What's the diff between a normal car and an EV?
There's definitely a difference in the maintenance because there's very little running costs of an EV, far less moving parts. So, there's no oil change.
Filters? There's
no fuel filters, anything like that. You, in fact, use the brake pads very little because of the regen braking. So even things like brake pads, there's less and less wear and tear on those. So
when I'm dealing with your business, just from your own business perspective, do you do anything special?
We're the first independent solar company in the Blue Mountains to become Climate Active certified. So Climate Active is a group that looks at our energy consumption, water consumption, waste, all of that stuff, and we've offset all those carbon production with carbon credits, so they certify as carbon neutral.
So basically, if I deal with you as a company, you also do have an environmental aspect to your business, is it?
Yes, because being a lot of our customers are Blue Mountains based, and it's not always about the financial side of things. So the climate active thing's a nice touch. I think that that a homeowner can deal with another company that is completely carbon neutral. So we're doing our bit as much as we can.
In some parts of Sydney where people have a lot of cost of living pressures, the financial benefit of solar is the only reason. Is that the case in your part of the world?
Certainly not the only reason. No, people are a percentage of our customers are doing it because they like the idea of the environmental benefits. They are not necessarily worried about long payback periods or the overall cost of the investment, but they feel it's the right thing to do environmentally and want to make the purchase because of that.
Today, I have learned a lot about the Blue Mountains, about your company, about your sense of humour, and I really appreciate you coming. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time, Marcus.
Thank you.
Want more energy answered? Visit yourenergyanswers.com for quality energy products, tools and calculators, and find your quality local installers. Please support the channel by liking the video, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and check out all our other videos. You're still here? I'll see you next time. Bye.